Welcome. Welcome to the HHS Brand Guide training presented by DSHS Communications. My name is Lisa Kazaku. Today we're going to talk about building the HHS brand. When we talk about the HHS brand, we talk about the HHS Brand Guide, and the Brand Guide is for all agencies. And the goal of the Brand Guide is for a consistent look and feel. And we just didn't come up with this. This is part of Senate Bill 200 from 2015 at the 84th Texas Legislature. So today we're going to talk about the champion brand. We're going to talk about logos and colors. We'll discuss typography and imagery, and we'll look at some templates to help make your lives easier. And then we're going to go over some examples and briefly talk about accessibility. So let's start by talking about our champion brand. Our champion brand under the HHS umbrella empowers us as individual employees as part of the HHS team to establish our priorities and make our own choices to accomplish our goals. Overall, we work to improve the health, well-being, and quality of life of Texans. Our champion brand also provides access to services and support to help Texans. When we talk about our champion brand, we also want to talk about writing for the champion. Our materials should be clear, concise, specific, and they should use plain language. And if you haven't already done so, you might think about taking our plain language training. Our communications should empower. They should empower us, and they should empower our readers or our audiences and our different stakeholders. We don't want to use emotional feels. We want to use short sentences and one or two syllable words. We want to break up large amounts of text. Don't be afraid of white space on a page. And we want to write only what you want the reader to know. So what are some champion techniques for writing for a champion brand? We're using the appropriate tone, like first person and respectful language. Be clear and consistent in our style and format. And we want to write in the active voice. So what's the opposite of active? Well, that would be the passive voice. And writing in the active voice really helps us speak directly to our audiences. And of course, we want to use a positive tone. So let's now move on and talk about logos. Our logo is the most recognizable example of our brand. The HHS and DSH logo together is a unifying logo. If you need a logo in your work, you want to email DSHS Communications for the DSHS logo or HHS Communications for the HHSC logo. And for the DSHS logo, it comes in all sorts of different styles, a centered one, a right flush, a left flush, a color, a black and white. HHS too has different logos that work in different ways on different items. So they want to be able to, and we want to be able to send you the logo that works best for whatever it is that you're working on. We also have reverse logos. So reverse logos would be logos that you would use on a dark background. So if ever you're going to have something and it's a dark background, you're going to want to use our white reverse logo or our color. You want to use the logo in whole. You can't break it up. You need the icon and the text. And you don't want to alter anything. You can't break up the logo and use just bits and pieces. You want to use the logo as a whole. No additions, no deletions, no substitutions, and no modifications. You also have to resize the logo proportionately, and you do that by holding down the Shift key. You don't ever want to compress the logo or smush it like you can see in those pictures. And the logo also needs generous margins or clear space or white space around it. You don't want to encircle a logo or box in a logo. So it needs clear white space. And program logos, specific logos that were unique to programs, those were retired a few years ago. So don't use program-specific logos anymore. You want to use the DSHS or the HHS logo. Now, the Texas seal is also can be part of our champion brand. You don't want to use the Texas seal like a logo. You want to use it like as a watermark or an image on anything that you're doing. You can use the dishes logo or the HHS logo as the main mark on the page, but you can use the seal, again, as artwork or as a watermark. So when we talk about our brand, there are also specific colors that we talk about. There are logo colors and primary colors and secondary colors and tertiary colors. There's very specific information on page 25 of the actual brand guide. Our primary colors are dependable blue. Blue should always be the main color of anything that you're working on. And then pure white, like I said, white space on a page is great. White helps organize and inform. And then you want to be sure not to make a secondary color a primary color. So you can see in this flyer, purple and red are the primary colors here, and those our primary colors should always be blue. So don't make blue a secondary color, and don't clutter the page with too many colors, and don't use colors outside of the color palette. Our secondary colors are optimistic blue and colorful red. And our tertiary colors are darker shades of yellow and red and a blend of blue and yellow. Our secondary and tertiary colors can be used in design work, but again, that primary color on the page should be the blue and the white. And there are also non-brand colors like pink, purple, and orange. And you don't want to use those in your design work. You want to only use those to connect materials to national observances, like purple for Alzheimer's or pink for breast cancer or red for heart disease. Any exceptions do need to be approved by your communications department. You also want to choose colors that are accessible. You want to overlay colors that are not hard to read, and some colors would not pass accessibility testing, like here, the dark on the red, you really cannot read what those words are. We also have a specific use of typography, meaning the fonts that are approved for us to use. There are three font connect collections. There's our formal collection, which is for high-profile reports, external communications, and some client materials. There's an informal, which is mainly client materials and some internal communications. And then there's the universal that you can use for anything. The great thing about the universal fonts is they're already built into Microsoft products and Microsoft documents. And you can use these for emails or memos. And we also use our universal fonts in our templates, and I'll show you that in a minute. In each collection, there are also SLAB-SERIF and SANS-SERIF fonts. SLAB-SERIF fonts are fonts that have a serif or a tick, or, and you can see in our SLAB-SERIF font, you can see the A and the B and the C all have little extra things on them, and those are serif. And so serif fonts are really good for headlines and titles. Sans-serif fonts, meaning fonts without the serif, those are really good for body copy and for some headings. Our default fonts are Verdana and Calibri and Rockwell. And I'm sure many of you are asking, well, don't we have our default font as Verdana, and why is that? Well, Verdana and Calibri and Rockwell, for that matter, are fonts universally available, but more importantly, they're accessible. So when somebody is using a screen reader, these fonts do not pixelate on a screen reader. So this is one of the reasons that we have Verdana, Calibri, and Rockwell as our default fonts. They make things more accessible, they make things easier to read, and they don't conflict with the brand guide, and they don't pixelate, most importantly. All right, when we're also talking about the Dishes brand, we also want to talk about imagery. Our imagery needs to communicate our commitment to the care and well-being of Texans. Imagery can be original stock, it can be stuff that you've done a photo shoot for, or it can be stock photos that you actually purchase. Photos should follow the champion brand, and they should feature staff helping the people of Texas. You want to show how services improve the lives of Texans and create the feeling of authenticity and confidence, as well as professionalism, empowerment, and engagement. We want to ensure that any photos that we use, that we adhere to copyright laws, and we want to avoid photos with harsh or high contrast lighting or taken in unusual angles like the photos that we see here. You want to choose models that have an actual positive demeanor and a positive look. And you want to use high resolution images without pixelation. And we don't want to stretch or skew images. And we also need to show diversity. Okay, so let's move on and talk about accessibility. Accessibility is a law, and the law requires that we have equal access to information and services, regardless of a user's physical or developmental abilities or impairments. Accessible electronic and information resources should be part of your planning. You can find more information about accessibility on the DSHS intranet or on the HHS intranet. Colors are a very important part of accessibility. It's important that you choose colors that help with your accessibility standards. These color combinations, which are on page 28 of the brand guide, do meet accessibility. They are easier to read when you use these color combinations as presented. You can also do, in all Microsoft documents, you can do an accessibility check, and this is really important. So if you're designing something or doing a flyer, you want to be sure you inspect your document to be sure it's accessible. So you're going to choose check for images, and then you're going to choose check accessibility. And then it's going to show you if there are issues in that document, and you can do this in Word or PowerPoint or any Microsoft product to help you ensure accessibility for the items that you're working on. Now, one of the things that we do to help build the HHS brand so people can follow the brand guidelines more easily is the use of templates. HHS has templates, as does DSHS. You'll find the templates. These are the two different pages on connection with HHS and on the intranet on DSHS Online for our DSHS templates. There are general templates like for business cards, fax cover sheets, executive memos, presentations, stationery. And again, you'll find these on the intranet. There's, again, letterhead in black and white, business cards with single and one color and double lines. And then there's external presentations, internal presentations, and legislative presentations, as well as DSHS has their own PowerPoint, which is what you're seeing today, what I'm using, and that template is also available. DSHS also has a number of other templates. These are easy to use brochure and flyer and poster templates. They're created and edited in PowerPoint, so that's a program everybody has. They are on our templates page, and we add more templates pretty regularly. Or if there's a template that you want that we haven't created yet, just let us know. We're happy to create a template for you. All of our templates use fonts that you don't need to purchase, which is Calibri, Calibri Gold, and Rockwell. They're universally available in Microsoft, and they're the default font in PowerPoint, and it helps with accessibility and brand guide compliance. You can try fonts in other brand colors also that will help with your design. And just keep in mind that SANS-SERIF, meaning without the serif, are easy to read on screen. You also want to use bold or Rockwell to break up large blocks of text, and we do that in our templates. So this is a template example. One of our programs came to us, and this was a template that they had put together in Word, and they put work into it, but we created a template for them using this concept, and look how much better this looks. This is a template that's for English and Spanish, and it just looks so much more professional when you use one of our templates. HHS has templates too. Easy to use a newsletter template and reports and just general templates in Word are also available on the HHS connection. All right, so I think this is the most fun part of our presentation today. Let's look at some examples. And when we show the example, I want you to think about, is this brand compliant or not? And then we'll go over whether it is and why it is or isn't. So what about this? Well, the logo has a lot of white space. Primary color is blue, and you've got champion brand images. So yeah, this meets our brand guideline. What about this? Dark background and our color logo. This doesn't meet brand guidelines because, as you mentioned earlier, anything on a dark background needs a white reversible color logo. What about this certificate? If you're saying, no, Lisa, that doesn't meet brand guidelines, you would be right. The colors are not correct, the fonts aren't correct, so this does not meet brand guidelines. This website for a conference. Main colors are blue, the logo is white reverse, they're using sans-serif fonts, so this meets brand guidelines. What about this? I haven't mentioned it before, but with dishes, we do not create logo lockups, meaning we don't have our logo and then the name of the program underneath it, and that's what this is. So we don't do logo lockups, so this is not brand compliant. What about this poster? And I hope you're telling yourselves, no, this is not brand compliant, because it's not. The colors are not part of our color palette, and the logo is not the white reverse logo on the dark. What about this, the state seal with the words in Times New Roman? This is not brand compliant. Because again, remember, we're going to use the seal only as artwork or watermark. What about this certificate? This isn't, and a couple of reasons. One, the primary colors are not blue and white, and they created a logo lockup in the upper right. And so this is not brand compliant. What about this? Gray is one of our tertiary colors. They use the white reverse logo. This is brand compliant, and it's not. The primary color should be blue. The tertiary color of gray is okay. So this is, and it isn't. What about this? This is a great poster about fish that you are high risk if you catch them. And this is not brand compliant for a number of reasons. One is the color. Primary colors are not part of our color palette, and the logo is actually not the correct logo. What about this? This is a signature. It's actually my signature, so you know my name. This is brand compliant. This is how your signatures look. And on the Dishes intranet and on the HHS connection, there are very specific information about what to put in your signature. What about this example? This is not brand compliant. It uses colors outside the palette, and the logo is incorrect. And it uses the TCID logo, which was retired back in 2017 because programs should not be using their logos anymore. What about this? This is brand compliant, and this is actually one of our templates that we did, because sometimes we do things with partner agencies, and that's what this is. And so we were able to use the National Disaster Happens logo because it's connected with the national observance, but it does meet brand compliant in that we use the colors and the fonts, and so this is brand compliant. What about this? This is not brand compliant. The fonts are not right, the colors are not right, the program logo should have been retired, so this is not brand compliant. What about these materials? These materials are brand compliant, and they all use a Dishes template, and these are templates that you can find on the internet. All right, so when you go back to what you do, I want to give you some resources that you can use to help you with brand compliance. One is to be sure that you download and review the brand guide. I would also check out Dishes Online, which is where our templates are, and the HHS Connection, which is where you find the HHS templates. And then if you have questions or you're not finding what you need, just email us, reach out to us, because we are here to help. We can help you with any kind of design the items, or we can help you with the template. And there are very specific instructions on how to use the template. So there's a step-by-step in each template on how you should use it. Just makes it easier. All right. So we thank you so much for your time here today. We hope this has been helpful. And go out and make it a brand compliant day.